Welcome to Ironsworn, Rime of the Frostmaiden, and this is session 1. Last session, in session 0, we created our hero, Karl, and he's a kind of early mid-teens boy. His father came to Lonely Wood years ago, apparently fleeing something we don't know anything about. Married a local girl. They had Bridget. When Karl was born, shortly thereafter, his mom died, and so he was raised by his father, and now his father left about a year ago without explanation. And a week ago, his sister Bridget was playing in the forest with her friend Tessa, and Bridget and Tessa disappeared in the forest. Since then, Karl's been looking for evidence of her around town, even going into the woods a bit. Karl himself was raised as a forester like his father, going out into the woods, felling big trees, dragging them back. Lonely Wood's main industry is logging. So now Karl has lost all of his family, basically, and his best friend, Half, was going to go into the forest, and Half went in the forest yesterday, and Karl hasn't heard from him since. So Karl is going to go talk to Half's mother. Now, there are a few NPCs that are in the Rime of the Frostmaiden book for Lonely Wood. So there's the speaker for Lonely Wood, who's basically the government official. She is a halfling by the name of Nimsy Huddle. So there's Nimsy. Then there's also the owner of the Scrimshaw shop, Iriskri Harrowhill. And there's the barkeep of the one tavern in town, Danae Zodal. For Half's parents, I could make up brand new NPCs, or I could use the law of NPC efficiency and use an NPC that already exists. So I think I'm going to have Half be the adopted son of the speaker of Lonely Wood, which is Nimsy Huddle. So Karl, waking up, finding that his best friend who went to the woods does not return, is going to go talk to Nimsy and see what she has to say. So Karl heads across town, goes to Nimsy's house, heads on in. Nimsy's house, even though she is a halfling, it's built kind of on a human scale. Nimsy Huddle, the town speaker, tempts you with freshly baked halfling-shaped cookies. Her house was clearly built for humans, but most of the furniture is sized for halflings, with a few big chairs for visitor, taller stock. 4 halfling children scamper around. These must be Half's sort of half siblings. Climb up a ladder to the roof, chasing each other with wooden swords, and a fire crackles in the hearth in Speaker Huddle's cluttered kitchen. Karl knows that he needs to get some information, and he could go into the woods, just kind of tearing off, but he's kind of a cautious kid, and he's not, really an adventurer. So he is going to try to secure an advantage by talking to Nimsy and hopefully getting some information about maybe where Half went, so that he's not just wandering randomly around in the woods. So to secure an advantage, he's going to secure an advantage trying to use his wits and observation, talking to Nimsy, trying to ferret out some details about where Half may have gone. So we're going to roll our wits. And first roll of the game, great. We're going to start off with a miss. So on a miss, you fail or your assumptions betray you. So he was trying to get information about where Half may have gone. And I think that Nimsy's not terribly worried herself. She's probably a little bit worried, but I think that Half probably goes tearing off around town just sort of anyways. So I think that Nimsy doesn't really realize that Half went into the woods on his own yesterday. So now Karl is faced with the situation. He doesn't really know where his best friend is. He really does think that he's in the woods, though. So he's probably going to wander around town a little bit, since Nimsy suggested that Half was probably somewhere around town. So he's going to wander around, maybe talk to some folks and see if they've seen Half. So we're going to do a gather information here and see if anyone has heard about Half. So on a strong hit, That's great. We take 2 momentum and we learn specific information. So I think that he talks to some of the townsfolk. He bumps into Iriskree, the Scrimshaw owner, and Iriskree tells him that she saw Half heading out into the woods. And so now Karl has a clear direction off into the woods. So he's going to try to find Half. I'm going to run this as a journey that's going to be relatively straightforward. So it's not going to be too difficult. It's just going to be troublesome. He's going off into the woods, but he knows the woods. He's been in the woods before. So we're going to start this by undertake a journey. Because of his Wayfinder asset, he has a +1 to this, and he has a bond with the town that he's heading out from, so that also gives him a +1. So he's in pretty good shape heading out of Lonelywood here, but we will see what happens. All right, so we get a strong hit on our task to find Half. So I think he heads into the forest, searches around, and finds some likely tracks that are suggestive of where Half went. But they're confused with a lot of other tracks. So I think that Karl kind of stops and looks around and tries to sort out maybe exactly where Half went, and try to sort out the tracks that he has from maybe some of the loggers and also some of the animals that are around town. So this is going to be a gather information. That is also a strong hit. He gets 2 momentum. He's going to mark progress on finding Half. So he finds some clear tracks that look like Half's footprints, and he follows them further into the forest. So now he's going to continue to undertake a journey. He no longer has the +1 from leaving Lonelywood, so he just has his Wayfinder asset, which gives him a +1. And on that, he gets a weak hit. So that's okay. He reaches a waypoint, marks progress. That's good. But that uses up some supply. So probably he's kind of hunkering down. This is taking longer than he thought. He's taking some provisions out of his pack, having a little bit of a snack. So he's gone pretty well into the woods. He's found the trail that he was looking for. So we're going to execute this task to find Half. So we're going to roll and see what we get. So we get a weak hit on our journey. So this is basically reaching the destination. So on a weak hit, you arrive but face an unforeseen hazard or complication. Okay. So he gets to where he thinks that Half should be, basically, like he comes to the end of the trail, and instead of finding Half, which would be, best case scenario for him, he encounters a bit of a messy field of snow, I would say, that it looks like there's been some trampled down, a lot of different tracks here, maybe a couple of splashes of blood. So it looks like where Half was going, he ran into some trouble, and now there's been a fight, and Half is not here. But it looks like there are some tracks here which Karl might be able to follow. So he's going to try to gather information. And I think that because of his wild blood asset, gather information using your knowledge of tracking. Yep, perfect. That is within his skill set. So he's going to get a bonus for that. So he's going to try to track and find whatever caused the mayhem that he's come upon here. All right, and on a strong hit, we get momentum and more specific information. So helpful and specific. So we see these tracks. I think that he realizes that they are the tracks of a moose. And I think Karl's somewhat aware that he's kind of heard rumors that there is a moose that's been causing problems for the loggers in Lonelywood. I don't think he has too much detail beyond that, because he got a miss on his secure an advantage with the speaker, which probably would have revealed some of that information. So he sees these tracks of a moose, and he's thinking, ooh, I thought there was some kind of problem with a moose out there. The problem is that there's not just one moose in the woods here, right? There's a bunch of them. So I think I'm going to have him undertake a journey in pursuit of hopefully this moose. So if he gets a strong hit, he'll be on track and he'll be able to follow this moose to its destination. Otherwise, maybe there's going to be another moose's tracks that he follows, or there's going to be some other complication that gets in his way. So because of Wayfinder, he has a +1. All right, great. And that's a strong hit. So he is able to follow these moose tracks and does not get waylaid, doesn't get confused with any other moose that are crossing the area. So he gets to where this moose was going. So this moose is actually a awakened creature. There is a evil frost druid wandering around 10 towns that's awakening creatures and causing all sorts of trouble. Karl doesn't know this, obviously, but this is what this moose is up to. So this moose has been causing problems for the villagers around Lonelywood and the foresters, and now Karl has followed it to its domain, as it were. So it is in a elven tomb. So he's followed the moose to this old elven tomb, and coming through the woods, he discovers these elven statues. First of all, the tracks lead up to a large circular indentation in a snowy hillside. Rising from the middle of this circle is a triangular gnomon of beautifully carved crystal that stands 20 feet tall. A 10-foot high berm hugging the circle's eastern edge has evergreens growing around it, and atop it, sheltering what looks like a sarcophagus buried under snow and enclosed by a half circle of pale blue crystal pillars. North of the berm is a delicately carved gazebo made of marble, and south of the berm is a row of outward-facing white marble statues atop granite pillars. So as Karl approaches this strange, mysterious place he's never seen before, he's been out in the woods, most of his life, but this place is new to him, and he's not quite sure what to make of it, but this is where the moose's footprints are. This is where Half hopefully is. So he approaches the edge of it, which is surrounded by these statues. 6 elevated white marble statues arranged in a line depict slender, robed figures facing northward. The engraving on their faces has been worn away by the wind, but pointed ears make the statues identifiable as elves. So there seems to be some sort of elven location. He hasn't heard of, elves being particularly active. There's not a community of elves around Lonelywood. So this place must be very old. He's going to go ahead and approach through the barrow entrance, which kind of enters open onto this strange moon dial. Rising from the center of the circular depression is a tall triangular crystal gnomon, a device one typically finds in the middle of a sundial. It is thick near the base and narrows to a sharp point at the top. The snow around the gnomon has melted away, revealing a circle of symbols carved into the stone around it. The symbols depict phases of the moon, suggesting that the circular depression is not a sundial, but a moon dial. Something has punched a rough hole in the wall in the northwest edge of the depression, creating a dark opening that leads under the hill. And I think in this area, because the snow has been melted away, he does sort of lose the moose tracks, but looking at what's that break in the wall, it looks like there is a handful of tracks sort of coming and going in the little bit of snow that's collected there. So he's going to look around. I think maybe he'll look around a little bit further and just make sure that the moose isn't sort of out and about here, or that, Half isn't just laying in the snow somewhere. So he gets out of where the kind of circular depression is and climbs up onto this elevated area to the east of the dial, where there seems to be some kind of sarcophagus here that's surrounded by pillars. Atop the eastern berm, a granite sarcophagus rests in a half circle defined by 5 crystal pillars. Clearing the snow off of the lid reveals an engraving of a brazier. Karl also notices a carving on the top of each of the 5 pillars, from north to south: a twig, a pine cone, a flame, a feather, and a humanoid hand. Seems like some kind of ritual or some kind of indication. Maybe this is some information about who is entombed here. No evidence of his friend here, no evidence of the moose, so he kind of wanders off and goes a little bit north of the area to this strange marble gazebo. In the middle of the gazebo sits an unlit stone brazier, its bowl 20 inches in diameter. The brazier is full of snow and pine needles that the winds have swept away from the gazebo's polished marble floor. Well, that doesn't seem very useful. So he's going to go back towards the moon dial and then head through this break in the wall, which seems to be the only useful direction. And again, there seems like there are some tracks here. So hopefully maybe this is where Half is. So he breaks through that wall and enters this little area under the mountain. It's strewn with bones and holds all sorts of sleeping critters that I wouldn't expect to necessarily be sleeping together. Foxes, hares, goats, owls, wolf pups, young bears that have all kind of made this place their home and seem to be getting along, which is unnatural. I think that this is, Karl is a little bit freaked out by this. But as he's exploring the tomb, he's going to go ahead and try to gather some information about what's going on here. The information complicates the quest or introduces a new danger. So he's looking around and he doesn't see the white moose anywhere, which is good. So it seems like the white moose came to this tomb and it's not here anymore, but neither is his friend. Now, there are a couple of little tunnel pathways that lead out of this barrow. Maybe his friend is in one of those. So he'll go just down to the west. The underground passage that he follows narrows before ending at a wall upon which is mounted an oval mirror, 7 feet tall and half as wide, encircled by a decorative stone frame. Well, that seems a lot of place. Karl looks at the mirror, kind of doesn't know what to make of that. It's all very strange. I think he backs out to the burrow and takes the tunnel to the south, which looks like it has a stone door in front of it that's engraved with a white semicircle, maybe depicting a half moon, with the rounded edge facing towards the right. It pushes open easily and reveals a circular chamber that has an intricately carved domed ceiling 20 feet high. A beam of light shines down from the top of the dome, illuminating a rectangular stone sarcophagus. Okay, so there is a sarcophagus outside. There's this sarcophagus. I think Karl is starting to figure out that this is some sort of elven tomb burial sort of situation. He's kind of icked out. He's not a grave robber at all. He has no intention of opening any of these sarcophagi if he can at all help it. So he doesn't see Half in here, so he just slowly eases the door closed and goes to examine the last tunnel where, I mean, if his friend's not here, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to maybe go see if we can find that moose. Maybe it's got to be around here somewhere because they tracked it here, but it's not here right now. So he follows the tunnel to the north and comes upon this another door, slowly eases it open. The circular chamber has an intricately carved domed ceiling, 20 feet high, kind of like the other one. A beam of light shines down from the top of the dome, illuminating a rectangular stone sarcophagus. Okay, it looks a lot like the same. But someone has turned this tomb into living quarters, as evidenced by a rack of drying herbs and an unfurled bedroll behind the sarcophagus. So as written, Ravison the Frost Druid is here and attacks the characters. I think I want Ravison to be a little bit more of a big bad evil guy to tie together some of the threats in the beginning of the game here. So I'm not going to have Ravison here right now, but I think that Ravison does have an awakened shrub that is here and maybe under orders to protect the place. So as Karl is kind of looking around, still not finding Half, which is a little bit alarming because now he's explored this whole place. So he has explored the whole place. So I think I'm going to give him progress on finding Half. He still needs to finish finding him and help him. But as he's exploring this shrub sort of moves to poke him with sort of prickly bits. Karl is armed with a bow as well as an axe. He is alarmed at this shrub, and he is going to do battle with it. So he's going to start by entering the fray. I think he got ambushed. He was not expecting a shrub to attack him, so we'll roll wits. So on a strong hit, take +2 momentum. Momentum is maxed out. and I have initiative. So I'm startled, but I recover quickly and unlimber the axe and hack at this shrub. I don't think shrubs should be a particularly dangerous opponent, so we're just going to set this shrub at a troublesome opponent, and I have initiative. I also have an axe, so my harm is not just 1, it's 2. So I'm going to go ahead and strike with my axe. That gives me a weak hit. So inflict your harm. So I hack at the shrub, but it pushes me a little bit off balance and I stumble, and the shrub is moving in and trying to scratch me. So the next step is to make it clash since I've lost initiative. So it's going to come in. I'm going to try to hack away at it with my axe to keep it off of me. Ooh, that is a miss. But I'm going to go ahead and burn momentum. So I got 10 momentum. I can overcome that and get a strong hit. So on a strong hit, inflict your harm. That's great. And choose 1, take +1 momentum. That sounds what I want to do. And since I got a strong hit and I've hacked away at this bush, I'm going to try to end the fight. Foe is no longer in the fight, so I've hacked away at this shrub. It's not moving. I don't know what to think about this at this point. It seemed like this shrub was attacking me, but that is magic beyond my ken. So kind of freaked out by that. But there's this living quarters here. So I think that I need to check out what's going on with this living quarters, because I might be able to get some information that could help me figure out what's going on with my friend. Okay, so information complicates my quest. All right, well, it's obvious that Half is not here. I think that I find some evidence that there is someone living here, but probably not full time. So I think that he discovers that this is just one location of many where whoever this is hiding out. And I think that also the complication is that he hears a moose bellowing outside. So this is kind of good because he's now here's this moose, but it's kind of bad because I don't really want to fight a moose. So he heads out trying to chase down this noise and breaks out of the little burrow hole and comes upon the Gnomon moon dial and sees this white moose here, and it is carrying Half on its antlers, and Half seems unconscious. So that's the bad thing. Ideally, he was hoping to find Half just lost in the woods, but apparently this white moose has knocked Half unconscious, maybe killed him. We don't know. But Half is mounted on its antlers, and this white moose is sort of pawing the ground, glaring at Karl with some semblance of intelligence. Is the moose going to attack or is it going to run? So we'll say attack. Is the moose going to attack? We'll ask a yes, no question. We'll say 50-50 for this one. Is the moose going to attack? No. So the moose decides not to attack. So it turns and runs off into the forest. So Karl's going to chase after it. We got to follow along. We're going to use face danger with speed, agility, etc. I think that I can use my knowledge of woodcraft or woodland creatures. Yeah, it's a woodland creature. It's an intelligent one, but I'm going to count it as basically a moose. So we're going to roll face danger. That gives us a weak hit. You succeed. So that means I'm able to follow the moose even as it's charging through the woods here. I'm going to go ahead and endure harm. I think he's running through the woods. He's getting tired. He presses on, though, in spite of that, and he's now got to try to get Half off of this moose. So he's going to try to secure an advantage. I think he's going to try to scramble up onto a tree, and as the moose is passing under, grab Half from atop the moose. This is going to be wildly dangerous, so he's got to try to get an advantage first. So he's going to scurry up. I think this is planning, so I'm going to roll wits for this. Your advantage is short-lived. Take what? +1 momentum. All right, that's not too bad. And now I'm going to face danger to try to snatch Half off of this moose as it is running underneath. Oh, no, that's a miss. Oh, you fail or your progress is undermined by a dramatic and costly turn of events. So I think he tries to lean down, grab half, completely misses, falls out of the tree. I think he takes some damage on that. So he endures harm. And now the moose goes tearing off into the woods, and Karl's going to have to start this whole thing more or less over again. He's going to have to track the moose down, deal with it somehow. So we'll see how that goes for Karl next time. Thanks for watching.